All right, let's review briefly the themes that the planets bring us. So we really kind of have, and this is part of the thing that I really love about human design, because to me it's so simple compared to astrology, which still confounds me, honestly. When we look at the chart, you'll see, of course, on the right and the left-hand side, all the planetary symbols. Each one of those planets has its own theme. It's an archetype. If you think of it, my astrology teacher, my very first astrology teacher used to tell me that each planet is literally like a god in the sky, and they have their own personality, and they bring us themes that are based on their personalities, right? You used to tell me every night, if I'm having a trouble with a planet or a planetary theme, go out and pray to the planet. Each of these gods or these planets has its own theme or its own school or its own archetype that it lives up. So when we're looking at a transit, we're looking at the theme of the planet, and we're also looking at the theme of the gate that's being lit up by the planet, right? So in this particular case, you'll see that on the sole purpose side of the chart, the sun, which is the circle with the dot in it, is lighting up the gate 35, right? So that's telling me the theme of the sun, that school, right? If you think of the sun as a school, that school of the sun or the curriculum of the sun is being played out through the gate 35, which is also an archetype. So you get to kind of do some storytelling between the themes of the planets and the themes of the gates. So let's review for a minute just what these different planets bring. What is the curriculum that each one of these planets show us and help us understand in our natal charts, and of course in the transits as well. So whatever is being lit up by the sun, and in human design, the sun moves through gates about every 6 days. So every 6 days, the sun moves to a new gate. The sun is yang, it's your output. Whatever the sun is highlighting is your outer expression. It's what you're here to give the world. So it's a big part of your life purpose in your chart. But you can't put that out into the world. You can't give your gifts to the world if you're not grounded, right? And so the earth tells us, what do you need to feel grounded? What do you need to feel stable? And so when the transits, the earth and the sun transit together, so the sun and the earth shift gates about every 6 days. And so when we look at the weekly energy report, we can look at the sun. That's what we're here to learn about. That's what we're here to give each other. The earth tells us, what do we need to feel grounded this week, right? So this week, God, I did the transit report this week and I have to go back and look it up. This week, the sun is highlighting the gate 62. Is that right? We're in July. No, the gate 39. Yes, I knew that. No, that's not right either. The gate 53, the gate of starting things. Okay, the gate 53. So this week, the sun is highlighting the gate 53. So we're all about starting something new, a new beginning, which is so perfect for this week because there's lots of new beginning energy this week. The earth is in the 54. We're grounded in divine inspiration. So we're not going to know what to start. That's the gate 53 until we get connected, right? Until we connect with source, until we find that divine inspiration. And that divine inspiration is part of what stabilizes us so that we're not going willy-nilly starting everything, but rather we're being very intentional and deliberate with what we start this week. The North Node, the nodes move, every 3-ish months, not always consistently. But the North and South Node, this is the South Node, they travel together. We'll start with the South Node because really the South Node is the beginning, right? The South Node is a theme. I like to say the North and the South Node are the plot outline for the human story, the story that we're in. So right now, the story that we're in, the North Node is in the 22, that's surrender, the gate of surrender. The South Node is in 47, that's the gate of mindset. So we're actually being schooled by the nodes right now in the power of manifesting. We are being told by the nodes that we have to learn to regulate our mindset so that we can surrender and let go and trust the process, right? That's the overarching theme right now in the current celestial weather. So the South Node is kind of the theme that we start out with over a season or a cycle, and the North Node is what we're growing towards, right? So with the 47, we're starting off with getting our mindset in order, getting our internal house cleaned up so that we can move forward into surrendering and trusting the process. Now that same energy is also grace, and it's part of the stream of manifestation in the chart. The moon, which moves rather quickly, It goes through all 64 gates in about 28 days. The moon is what drives you. And sometimes when you're looking at your natal chart, if you lose connection to your motivation, sometimes the moon can help you find where you can find motivation for yourself from your chart. Mercury is all about communication, what we're here to talk about and share. And so when we look at what Mercury is transiting through, Mercury is going to tell us what we're all going to be talking about during the whatever the Mercury cycle is. We're about to get ready to go through a Mercury retrograde cycle, right? So we're going to be getting an internal exploration about language and words and the power of our words. And then when it goes direct again, we'll get to rehash or revisit conversations that maybe we need to revisit that weren't quite the way we wanted them to play out originally. Venus, whatever Venus is highlighting, is emphasizing what we value, and in particular what we value and love in our relationships. It's more of a personal planet. I would say Sun, Earth, Moon, nodes, Mercury, Venus, and Mars are what I would call the personal planets. They tend to affect our personal charts more. Obviously, they still play out in the collective. But your Venus is going to tell you a lot about what you value and what you really value and love in your relationships. Mars is kind of like where we have immaturity and sometimes impetuousness, and where once we mature and grow in our maturity, it's where we can use our youthful lessons as our way of teaching and a place where we lead others. So Mars represents lessons that we need to learn in order to mature so that we can become better leaders in our lives. Jupiter, now we start to hit the planets that I would say are the outer planets, the more collective planets, the slower moving planets, right? So these planets represent not only personal themes, they're still going to impact you personally, but they're also going to impact the collective landscape, the world around us, the news, the world, our communities. So Jupiter is where we get our blessings. Whatever Jupiter is highlighting is what's expanding and growing, and it's where we receive our rewards and our blessings. Now, I like to look at Saturn and Jupiter together as kind of a partnership. Saturn is our teacher. Whatever Saturn is lighting up brings us lessons, themes that we need to be working on. And sometimes Saturn is what we need to get rid of in order to be more effective. So if you think about in the ancient mystery schools of Alexandria, when they taught the process of alchemy, they would pray to Saturn. And Saturn was the energy that would burn away the dross, right? In that process of transforming coal to gold, metaphorically, it's Saturn that converts the coal into gold, right? It's Saturn that burns away all the excess. So sometimes Saturn clears the way, right, for us to be able to step into a more pure, a more aligned expression of who we are. So Saturn has this very powerful role of helping us clear away the things that are getting in our way, that are blocking us from receiving our blessings. So when we look at your natal chart, I always look at Saturn and Jupiter together, because what happens is when we do the work that Saturn assigns us in our curriculum, in our chart, the path for our rewards for doing that work is usually highlighted by Jupiter. Uranus represents, this is a collective planet, slower moving planet, takes 7 years to move signs, right? Uranus is where you are different. So Uranus will be somewhat generational, but it's also going to tell you in your personal chart places where you are unique. Uranus has the job of oftentimes teaching us faith. Partially the reason why Uranus teaches us faith is because Uranus oftentimes brings lessons in navigating the unknown or the unexpected. And oftentimes what Uranus does, similar to Saturn, Uranus will pull the rug out from under us if we're headed in a direction we're not supposed to go. And oftentimes when we outgrow something, Uranus is going to pull the rug out from under us because things have to oftentimes get dismantled and disrupted in order for us to build something new. So oftentimes when Uranus sweeps through, Uranus is helping us evolve. Neptune represents a planet that highlights our spiritual theme. It's oftentimes veiled or kind of mysterious to us. So sometimes whatever Neptune is highlighting in your personal chart can feel kind of murky and something that you maybe sometimes struggle to connect with, because that's part of your lesson, is to learn how to pierce that veil and connect. And usually the path to connecting to whatever Neptune is lighting up in your chart is getting connected spiritually. And oftentimes your Uranus is going to tell you about your spiritual connection, your work, and your purpose. In the collective, Uranus is going to be telling us a lot about what's up for us collectively in our spiritual lessons, right? And as I said, like right now, I'm sorry, not Uranus, Neptune. Right now, Neptune is highlighting the gate 25, right? And so that's an energy where there's the potential for healing. So Neptune is saying we all need to heal, right? We're going to need to go through this healing season. Neptune on highlighting the 25 is also about saying, hey, you have to trust the process. You have to trust that you're supported by source and not lose faith and not lose connection to source. And Neptune highlighting the 25 is also saying, and you got to get connected to your higher purpose. You got to learn how to not eliminate the ego. The ego has its function, right? It's here to serve the higher purpose, but you can't let the ego run the show. You have to surrender to that higher purpose and trust that it's all unfolding the way it needs to. Pluto. Pluto just shifted into the gate 41, where it's going to sit for a while, the gate of imagination, which is also the gate that the Human Design New Year starts on. So we have this theme of Pluto being in this brand new cycle, right? Pluto is all about expansion, challenge. It's a generational pattern. It's where you grow, evolve, and transform through oftentimes death and rebirth cycles. Death and rebirth is a big theme of Pluto. Now, I want you to pay attention as I went through these outer planets: Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. All of these planets kind of have a similar theme of seasons, cycles, evolution, growth, expansion. The whole curriculum of the universe is expansion and growth, right? We're here to grow and evolve. And of course, our final little exploration here, which we're not going to do too much on this one, but this is just for your benefit when you look at your own chart. Your Chiron, if you run a chart with me, and you run a quantum human design chart, which you can do at freehumandesignchart.com, which will come in the quantum language. I always have Chiron on the chart because I always look at Chiron because my clients tend to be people who are here on a spiritual path, and often a lot of them are healers. Maybe you relate to that. And Chiron is a place that teaches us about our own wounds that we have to heal so that we can then become better healers and better be able to help others heal as well.